Welcome to the Wealth Marketing Podcast, where we explore the latest trends, challenges, and opportunities shaping the financial industry today. In each episode, we bring you insightful conversations with industry leaders sharing practical, actionable strategies to help advisors deepen relationships and meet growth goals. I hope you enjoy. Hi, everyone, and Happy New Year. This is our second episode for our special edition 2026 Marketing Kickoff podcast, where I'm taking you through our brand roadmap workbook. And of course, you can have this. Simply email me and I'll email it to you myself. I hope that you're thinking about your marketing in January of 2026. It is the perfect time to think about what's working and what's not working. Maybe you've already done a lot of the foundational work that we just discussed in our last episode. Maybe you've already done the ideal client profile. You've already identified your value proposition and how you think about your brand's voice. If you've done all that, that is awesome, and you're ahead of the game. So now it's time to put all of that into play, into a marketing plan based on your thought leadership that is going to lead to sustainable, thoughtful growth through increased touch points of your pipeline. So the idea behind a marketing program that is based on thought leadership, it's based on content that you create that answers the challenges that your ideal clients face all the time, day in and day out. In our last episode, we identified the challenges, the top challenges for each one of our ideal client personas. So you should be able to take this list of top challenges, and these are the themes for your marketing calendar. And I'll tell you what I mean. Now it's time to decide what is the content medium. There's a lot of different ways to tell the stories of how you work with clients. It is virtually impossible to list all the things that you do on your website. And if you try to list all the things that you do on your website, people are not going to read it because it's going to be too much. So we like to talk about our value proposition and deliver this message of how you work with people through content. And the content can take many forms. There can be podcasts, white papers, and other long form content, webinars, short videos, market flashes, newsletters, and of course, public relations, where you're actually speaking to the media about these themes. The content medium that you pick depends on a few very specific factors. One is you. What kind of content do you find mentally acceptable to produce? In other words, do you like the idea of talking to people on a podcast? Probably you have conversations all the time in your professional life. Probably hopping on a podcast to discuss the same themes will not be a stretch. We find podcasts to be an extremely successful and sustainable method of content delivery. So we love podcasts. We love podcasts for a lot of different reasons, also because we see sustained growth in the consumption of that content over time. So people will actually go back and listen to old episodes, which is the only content medium I've ever seen this happen. It's also a very affordable and low disruption way to produce content, right? It's not hard to sit down and have a conversation. So we love podcasts. And of course, this has to be based on your ideal client profile. Do your people like to listen to podcasts? Are they podcast listeners? So that's one option. Another option is a white paper. The white paper is not dead. Do you like to write? Does your audience like to read? We find that for a younger audience, reading a long white paper is not going to happen. So we rely more on videos and podcasts and webinars. But perhaps your audience is more of an institutional audience that actually likes the granular white paper. So for that audience, we'd consider a white paper long form of content. And then there's the webinars. So is your audience most likely to consume this content while at work? We find that if you are targeting an audience like HR executives or business owners or institutional investors, they will often consume this content while they are sitting at their desks. And so a webinar or video works really well. We also like short form videos for things like market flash updates, for delivering small bite-sized pieces of information with a lot of frequency. So it's time to start thinking about what form of content do you find appealing? What do you think about doing and it sort of excites you? Because chances are, if you like doing something, you will keep doing it. What we don't want to see is when we start a podcast and then we really don't like it. And so we just sort of stop. So that looks worse than having not started at all. So we want to think about the type of discussions we want to have. What are those challenges sounding like? Are these challenges that are based on market conditions and flash updates, or are these challenges that require a deeper, longer discussion? All of that should be part of your consideration when we think about content mediums and delivering this message. Okay, and now it's time. The moment you've all been waiting for is to translate all of this into an actual marketing calendar that can kickstart your growth. If we think about the top challenges that our ideal client personas are facing, we listed these out in a list of top 10 or 15 challenges. These are based on the conversations that we're having with these ideal clients. We should start to think about them from a timing perspective. Perhaps we think about planned giving in November. Perhaps we think about taxes in February or September. Maybe we think about the markets in October. Maybe we think about yearly planning in January. So now it's time to go through your top challenges and create a calendar of those top challenges and how we're going to translate that into content. Let me give you an example. Let's say you like the idea of having conversations. So we're going to produce a podcast on planned giving. This can be a solo cast like this one, or it could be a conversation with one of your colleagues. It could be a conversation with an outside service provider that you work with, a center of influence. So we create a podcast. And then from that podcast, you can actually write a commentary, right? So a synopsis can become a commentary. So that's two pieces of content that you've got for the month of November. So we plan those out. We release one piece of content at the beginning of November. The commentary goes out 2 weeks later. And in between there, we have social media posts for each one of those. And at the end of the month, we have an email blast that goes out to our audience with these two pieces of content as a summary of what happened over November. You do this over and over again and plan your content out month by month based on these top challenges. And eventually you have 12 months of content through which you are touching, actively engaging with your current pipeline. Your pipeline includes prospects, referrals, and current clients. And what better way to encourage referrals from your current clients or increased assets from your current clients than talking to them about the challenges that mean the most to them? You are deepening your relationships with your clients. That is so important. And by deepening your relationships with your clients, being of service to your clients, being a resource of information to your clients, they will in turn keep you top of mind and introduce you to their friends when that situation arises. We have seen that the firms who have a content-based marketing strategy have a higher sustained growth rate than the firms who are actively engaged in advertising. So this is a much more sustainable, thoughtful growth that we're seeing. We see increased metrics across all digital platforms. So when you start to execute this type of marketing plan, you're producing content that means something to your audience, you will see increased engagement across your website, across all your social media channels, increased open rates and read rates for your emails, increased clicks into your website. So we will see an increased engagement over time. Typically, it takes about 1 year to see the traction, right? So an example would be if you launch a podcast today, you will see maybe 30, 40, 50 listeners for your podcast to start. Next year, you will see 70, 80, 100 listeners for your podcast, and you will see this increasing over time. If you don't see an increase of your content over time, then there's a problem, and we should pay attention to this. It means that your audience doesn't care about what you're saying. It means that you need to go back to your ideal client profile and rethink those challenges that you've outlined and rethink the content that you're producing. The biggest challenge we see, the biggest mistake, is that we see advisors producing content for what they want to talk about and not what their ideal client wants to hear. We talk about ourselves instead of our client. You see this on websites. You see it in social media. You see it in decks, especially in a pitch book. We do this and we do that. And And here's all the things that we do. And we have expertise here. And we've got 8 credentialed professionals on our team with JDs and CFAs and CFPs and Kaya. We want to say all the things about us. We don't want to talk about other people. That's how we're built as human beings. But what's going to make a person feel heard and connected with is when you pinpoint the challenges that they are feeling and produce a thoughtful piece of content about that challenge and how you've solved that challenge for other people. Doesn't get any better than that. So this January, I hope that you are thinking about marketing and growth. I hope you're excited about marketing. And I hope that this has helped you understand how easy it is for you to implement a thought leadership, content based marketing plan that will lead to increased growth and engagement for you. Of course, if you would like a copy of this brand roadmap workbook, we're happy to send it to you. Just email me. My email address will be in the show notes for you to receive a copy of this brand roadmap. And of course, if you need help, don't hesitate to give us a call. We're always a resource to our friends in the industry. I hope this has been helpful to you. And of course, Happy New Year. See you soon.